Shabbat Shalom. Goodness, that was not a good Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Natsarim family. I pray you all are having a beautiful Shabbat, a restful Shabbat. I have little kitties running all over my house today. And this is not going to be super long. I just, actually, let me move this a little bit. I just wanted to go live today, Shalom, Shalom, to talk about a couple things. One is the possibility of my channel being completely done away with, the end of the YouTube world, which all of us, if you have been watching large channels, and everybody's been putting out kind of like warnings and notifying their viewers of what possibly could happen on December 10th. I just wanted to do the same thing. I'm praying about it. Abba has not led me in any other direction to go to BitChute, although I do have a BitChute, or to go to, what's the other one? Vimeo is weird. I can upload stuff there, but I don't really use it. I do have Patreon, but, you know, everybody has done YouTube for so long. So anyway, as Abba leads, people will migrate elsewhere. That, or we're just going to see a lot of channels just go away. Like the time, this time of fellowship may be coming to an end, right? And it's hard to, it's sad. It's sad that I think that not just for my channel, because my channel is so teeny tiny, but nevertheless, I have met some beautiful people and I would love to stay in touch with them. But, you know, as this transition occurs in December, it's sad because we may not, I mean, Abba can do all things, right? But we may not have this place to come where we can get fellowship with one another anymore and go to our favorite channels and, you know, enjoy the live streams and things like that. We will have to migrate somewhere else if he leads. So just be aware of that. Be in prayer. If Abba leads you to go somewhere else, and just know that if my channel disappears, it is because the Most High has said my time is up on here, and that is that. Because we know what we're moving in. We know that we are moving into the season, the time of the setting up of all things, like the beast system and all that. We know that's coming, those of us that are awake, right? So this is just one of the things that happens, right? We're being censored everywhere. So that was what I wanted to announce on this video today, so that you would have the information. Do your homework, go look it up and into it some more if you did not know about it prior to my speaking of it now. The other thing I want to talk about today is what I believe Abba is calling us to focus on. He's been impressing upon my heart and my spirit greatly this past week, of a desire for purity, more purity, more holiness. Now, we know that we can't do anything to be holy and pure. That is all done through Yahusha, who is holy and pure, but living in us, right? But nevertheless, he's been speaking to me on things that I can do. I can fast. You can fast. We can stop habits that are not giving glory to him. These are bad habits, habits for our physical bodies, maybe mental habits. Who knows what it is? But those are things that we can eliminate, right? And that's what he's been speaking to me on. Eating pure foods, and nothing is pure in this world, but when I say that, I mean eliminating the white sugar, eliminating the things from the pagan table. Do you understand what I'm saying? The sad diet. That's why it's called sad. Eliminating, like being more like Daniel. It is a time to be more like Daniel, is what he's impressing upon my heart right now. And seeking him, really spending time with him alone, like getting out of the face of YouTube, getting out of off of Instagram, the distractions, eliminating the distractions, that it is definitely a time for the word. It is a time for pressing into him more. And all of this was just confirmed when I watched a video. I never watch them either, like ever. And it was Prophet Charlie Shamp, or whatever. I don't watch him ever, but for some reason Abba had me click on his video today, and I did not listen to the whole thing because he did not tell me to listen to the whole thing. I listened to what he wanted me to hear, and what he wanted me to hear was how Abba was showing him that in 2020, it's going to be a time of greater levels of discernment, which I've heard that, and he's confirmed that to me. And it's going to be a time to be led in spirit and in truth. We have to live in spirit and in truth. We have to be able to hear clearly, to separate ourselves for the work that we have been called to do. And this is referenced in Acts 13. Okay. And I'm not going to read it right now, but I may go back to it. So you can read all of Acts 13 and pick up on where that's at. But pray about it, please. Pray about everything. Also, there's the time of the dividing line. I found that interesting because Abba showed me that in 2018, actually. And I kind of thought, I felt in my spirit that we were already in the process of the dividing line. And that means the lukewarmers from those who are serious, they're not willing to compromise anymore. There's no compromising. But I have seen where not quite everybody has jumped over the line yet. So maybe it's because there's still so many people that have to do that. Then that's the reason for the continuance of the time of the dividing line. We know that we have been in the past year or so, a little bit more, in the time of the rise of the Melchizedek priesthood and the Zadok priesthoods, which means that we are living and showing others what is profane and what is holy, what is of Yah, his will and his commandments and the way, and what is profane and of Hasatan and his demons and principalities. And we're still going to be in that season. Okay, so I've talked about before the fire being poured forth from heaven. Oh, shalom, Christine. Shabbat shalom. So briefly, I know you'll be able to go back and watch, but I'm just talking about what I feel Abba is calling me to focus on in this time and going into 2020. So I've talked about the fire, the heavens opening and the fire being poured forth from the heavens onto us, greater than that in Acts 2, greater than it did at the first baptism of the Ruach. Because I had a vision, a clear vision in 2018 of this happening. And so I've been fervently praying for that fire. But Abba had me add something. When I pray for that fire to fall daily, I'm praying for it not only to fall on me, to give me boldness and courage to share the gospel, to share the kingdom with others, but also that the fire would pour forth in and through me to cleanse out all impurities. And so that's the important key there, is that this fire that he's going to be pouring forth now throughout 2020 is going to be the Jeremiah 1:10. Okay? The fiery mantle that is going to fall from heaven is Jeremiah's mantle. Okay? And it's going to be falling on us. And it's going to be a fire that purifies and cleanses out all whatever's left inside of us that's got to go to make us a pure and spotless bride. But it's also going to be a fire of evangelism and a fire of the prophetic, the two working together to usher in the last harvest of souls. That's what we can be expecting. That's what we need to be praying for in this hour and going forward through 2020. So through this process of the fire cleansing us, it'll be sanctification that will lead Yah to do mighty miracles and wonders using us and in our sight as witness. Okay. And that, as I've said this many times, the rise of the evil and the rise of Abba displaying signs, miracles, and wonders in the earth realm. Okay. We're definitely in that. We see how evil has been on the rise, continue the hatred, the anger, anti-Semitism, wicked spirit, and but anyway, that spirit is going to come more and more as time progresses. Also, like I said, the desire for holiness, all right? But that holiness is living our life from being the new creation set forth, the creation living the three: righteousness, peace, and joy. We will be exuding righteousness, peace, and joy. So it's the manifestation of Yahusha's character and his integrity within us, right? And that is what is going to help us to walk in holiness and purity and separate ourselves from anyone or things that are not doing that, living that way. And so he's really calling for this separation, this dividing line to occur now and through 2020, where it's just done. Like there's no, how did I write it? Let me find, sorry, give me 1 second. Oh, there it is. Okay, so Joshua 3:5, which, let me pull that up real quick and read it. I just feel like I need to read that. Okay, if you want to turn to Joshua chapter 3, verse 5, we'll touch on that for a sec. My goodness. I'm sorry, I did not have it ready for you guys. And of course, it won't let me get to the page. Okay, so Joshua, and I'm reading from Hallelujah Scriptures. All right, so Joshua chapter 3, verse 5. And Yahushua said to the people, Kadosh yourselves, for tomorrow Yahuwah is doing wonders in your midst. And that is the verse we need to grab hold of. We need to grab hold of that. All right. That's the time of the dividing line. And he said, after I read that, the destruction of the spirit of compromise in Yahuwah's true servants. Okay. He will destroy the wicked spirit of compromise in true Natsarim. Okay. So keep that in your mind as you are in your prayer. Do not compromise, and I'm talking to myself, I'm not just talking to y'all, but do not compromise on anything, because we need to separate the holy from the profane, because he's creating a pure and spotless bride. And there's also going to be miracles that he does, deliverance that he does within us. Any uncleanness in us, it's not going to be of our works or things that we do to get pure. It's going to be him delivering, setting us free from even generational things that have been in our family lineage and that maybe we didn't even know that we carried, but he's going to deliver us from those things. And then once that deliverance occurs, whatever it may be, we'll have eyes to see and ears to hear to move forward, living in spirit and in truth, right? So along with that line of delivering us, so any foreign objects, you think about something in your body that's a foreign object, your body will push it out. It's not pleasant, but if you get something stuck in your gum or whatever, it pushes it out. It cannot be in your body. And that's what deliverance is going to be like. He's going to be pushing out those things out of our bodies that should not be there, that maybe have been there for generations and generations. But he's going to be doing that all throughout the next year. So then, as I was writing, Abba began to flow, the Spirit began to flow through my pen. And this is what he said for me. This doesn't necessarily pertain to you, but if it does, grab hold of it and believe it. But he said, my pen is pure, my writings are holy, and my words are truth. And they will execute everything that I have sent them to do going forward. And like never before, like it's going to be like crazy awesome. So, and then he also brought me across in Luke this to pray for a continued spirit of humility. And let's see, where was it? Okay. It's Luke 13:30 that says, there are those now last who will be first, and those that are now first who will be last, Yahusha says. So that's what he's doing through this whole cleansing, purification, deliverance process of bringing us up to where he wants the Natsarim positioned for the end times. So I thought that was awesome. I wrote that down this morning. All right, so all of that ties together with what he was showing me. He had me looking up the MaSchiach this morning. And if I can find that, which of course I write things all backwards in my journal. But if you don't know what that is, it's the actual zodiac, but it's not the zodiac. It's Abba's true. True. You can look that up. I don't want to go into it because I've not been told to speak on that right now. But yeah, he was showing me that. So in that, he brought me to understanding about Hasatan's counterfeits. So we know that everything Abba does has a counterfeit, right? We know that there's the Ruach Hakodesh, the Holy Spirit, and on the other side, there's a counterfeit spirit, right? So he said, and he just had me write this down so I could just reference back to it, but there is Jerusalem, and there's Babylon, or Rome. There's Yahuwah, and there's Hasatan, Baal. There's the Shema, then there's the cross and the Trinity. And please, if you don't understand some of these and why they're profane, then go pray about it. Ask Abba yourself. Then there's Yahusha, MaSchiach, and then there's Tammuz. There's the Sabbath, and then there's Sunday. There's the Passover lamb, there's Easter, and the Ishtar pig. There are the holy days and the holidays. There's the law and lawlessness. There's the spirit of truth, and then the spirit of error. There's the spirit of Yahuwah and the spirit of the false Messiah. There are the Natsarenes, and then there's Christianity. That's a lot to take in if you've never heard that before. So if that is your first time hearing it, then I encourage you to pray about it, to read the word, to ask Yahuwah yourself, because the spirit within you will reveal all truth to you. And these are important for us to understand, especially as Natsarim, because the Natsarim will continuously share the kingdom and the testimony of Yahusha, even unto the end with unbelievers, until he closes that door, right? And we're going to have to share this information with them so that their eyes and ears can be opened and that they walk in spirit and in truth. Because it's like Ezra, right? When Ezra wanted to go back to Jerusalem, to the city that had burnt to the ground, and he was crying out to Abba, and he's like, "Oh, Shabbat Shalom, Beth." And he's crying out to Abba, and he's saying, "Oh, just let us go home and rebuild this for you, Yahuwah. I love you so." And Ezra was just heartbroken over it, right? This is his heritage. And so anyway, he gets the provisions. Abba makes this miraculous way for him and Nehemiah to go back, build the wall, build everything, the temple and all that. But then Ezra's heart's broken and he's like, all of the word has been burnt up and destroyed. How is anyone supposed to know holy from profane? How is anyone supposed to know what the truth is from falsehood when the wicked, are everywhere, and we want to do these things for you and rebuild the temple and serve you the way that you have told us to be obedient unto you? But how can we do that without any scripture, without any word? And so Abba said, all right, Ezra, gather, was it 5 scribes or something, and I will give you the word, and I will allow you to write these sometimes 205 books, sometimes 95, depending on which version you read, but you will only release 25 to the public, and the rest you will hide for those who have understanding minds. But nevertheless, it's the same thing. We are going to come to a time where the word is going to be burnt up. It's going to be taken from us. And by that, I mean that the wicked are going to destroy as much as possible the truth, the Bibles, the things like they did. It's been done how many times throughout history? Whatever, but it still remained a remnant. There was always a remnant of the word. But he's impressed upon me. So when new converts come into the faith going forward into the end of days, all the way unto the end of closing the door, they will have to learn what is holy from profane and why did we have this day? Why was there Easter? Think of a little child, right? And all they've ever known is the Easter bunny. They never knew that there was a Passover or a Passover lamb, but yet they just received Yahusha and they just came into the life, right? Well, we have to teach them that. We have to teach, well, that was a pagan thing. It was done from evil. Anyway, I went off on a tangent, but I was just trying to make a point. So I just think that's why it's important that we take all of the things he's uncovering as truth to us. We're in this great season of everything that's been hidden from us being revealed to us. We are in a great season of truth. We are blessed to live in this hour because the blinders have come off and all truth is coming to light. All things hidden in darkness are now coming to the surface. All right. And that is the blessing that we have, is knowing the truth. So continue to seek Abba on that, because as time goes by, it's important that we know these things to pass it on to those after us. And I'm not just talking about family, but I'm talking about the whole, Let's see, what else do you want me to share? Oh, yes, he's been speaking to me a whole lot about living the Hebrew life. And I'm praying and I'm seeking and I'm reading the word on how does that look like in our day and age compared to how it looked in Paul's day, compared to how it looked in Moses's day. How does that look for us in this day and age? What is it? How are we supposed to live day to day as Hebrews in this time? And so I'm really digging deep into that. And part of that is understanding tent dwelling lifestyle, the nomadic lifestyle. I'm not saying that we all have to be nomads, but that was a huge part of the early Hebrews. That was a huge part of their life, is that they were nomadic. And we will be going back to that for the second Exodus. And so we're not at that time, but Abba's really pressing in for me to learn that and to share whatever he shows me with you all. Because the nomadic lifestyle is a lifestyle that it was complete dependence on Yahuwah. Like, he was their everything, the manna from heaven. They had to get up every day and go collect it before they could eat. They depended on him to keep their clothes on their back from getting holes, keep their shoes from getting, holes in those as well and getting worn out to where they had no shoes. They depended on him for everything, for water, for food, for shelter, for divine protection, every bit. So look around. Like, do I really depend on Yah for the roof over my head? Well, I do now because I went through a really hard time. But do you really depend on Yah every time you go to the sink and you turn the water on to get your cup full of water? Do you depend on him to provide that water through that spigot? Do you depend on Yah every time you go to your refrigerator and you pull out a piece of food and put it in your mouth? Do you depend on Yah every time you go to the closet and get your coat because it's cold outside? These are things he wants to teach us because we are Hebrews and Natsarim in these end of days. And it's a different time, but it's the same heritage. Does that make sense? So I'm really loving digging into this because I've always, as you can see the title of my ministry, when I Salt and Light Gypsy ministry, and some people think immediate New Age when they hear that. And that's okay. But that's not, Abba told me to keep that name. He said, keep it because you're in this world, but you're not of this world. And that's why you can keep the title Gypsy in your ministry name. And, Salt and Light. And if you question why it's Lyte, unfortunately, when I deleted my Facebook page, I deleted the whole page Abba gave me as to why that spelling. But I will find it, I promise. But that was a huge revelation. It was really awesome. And he specifically told me to keep it that way. But anyway, the main point was Gypsy, because he said, just as the Hebrews of the past, the Bedouins that still live over there are Muslim Bedouins now, but the Bedouins were those that lived in camel hair tents, and they were nomads in the deserts, and they still do that in Syria or in that vicinity of the world. They are still there living that lifestyle 3,000 years later. And so we can look to them. We can look to their lives, even though they are not believers, we can still glimpse at how they're living their day-to-day existence and see, how the ancient Hebrews lived their life. And then we can pray about it, and we can allow the Ruach to teach us and to illuminate these things within us to our true heritage. And that will cause our identity to grow, our identity to be rooted solid and firm ground. And once that's set firm and your full true identity, then you become immovable, right? You become sturdy and like a tree planted with deep roots, and nothing can move you, which thus leads into not compromising on any level, which will give you the boldness and the faith that you need to stand firm in these end days. So it all ties together. And so this is just what he wanted me to share with you all today, because it's really been putting it like almost like a burden on my heart, and fasting. And this whole year has been like one big fasting disaster. It's been awful because the enemy knows how bad I want to do it, and not just do a simple fast. I've done a day fast. I've done a couple days here and there and everywhere, but Abba is calling me to be serious enough to do a fast that will break the chains, that will deliver me, that will cause me to be an overcomer of those sins that entangle. And I'm not talking about like major, all sin is major anyway. I'm not talking about like smoking or anything like that, but there are sins like food, whatever it is that ensnares us, because he says, woe to you in the last days whose what is it, sins cause you to trip up or something, because those people that have not overcome them will compromise and they will take the mark, and you don't want to be one of those people, right? So that is why we need fasting. That is why we need prayer and fasting together. And he's been calling me to do a long one for a long time. And so that's the other weighty thing on me. And I know once I do and I overcome that first couple days that the enemy keeps sucking me back in, it's going to be amazing. Like, I just know. So he's building my faith up. He's building my assurance up that I can do this. That he's building not just that up, he's building my desire for him. More of my desire for him, more of my desire to be like Yahusha. And within that desire, I overcome that which I can't overcome in my flesh. Does that make sense? So, yeah. And, so yes, I'll share this one last point because this kind of ties it all in together. So as I was studying, I'm studying ancient Hebrew, the Odeo and the letters and words and such. I'm just looking into words and things. So as I was studying Bidmar, which is wilderness, and what it means, wilderness is a place of order. Never thought of that. Never would have guessed that in my whole life. So wilderness is where the word becomes life, and it also becomes your order to life. It puts things in order. Think of when you're away or a vacation or something, you get a breath of fresh air, and then all of a sudden all of this weight feels lifted off of you, and then you begin to see clearly and you begin to figure things out, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, this, and this. Well, that's what the wilderness is, and that's why it's important that we understand nomadic life, because it puts order in our life. So I was questioning things. I said, Abba, show me how the American culture, that of the founding of this country to now, is being completely wiped out, right? And it's because they're changing the language. They're changing the mindsets of people, especially the young people, which causes a change in the culture. They're causing the adaptation of gender roles flipping the norm among, the list goes on and on and on and on. The rise of anti-Semitism. And so they're causing essentially the early American culture to go extinct, to be wiped out, so that people will not remember their freedoms. People will not remember, mainly, by indoctrinating the younger generations into these wicked doctrines. And so he just told me to start praying about that. Begin to pray. Because America was supposed to be his, and we still live here. It's not that it's going to be, it will be destroyed, but we have a heritage long ago that should not be forgotten, right? And so anyway, that's just something he threw in there as far as learning the true heritage of the Hebrews as well. The other thing I'll say, this goes along with YouTube at the beginning. Beth, I don't know if you heard that, but I was talking about YouTube deleting my channel, which is possible because YouTube is going to be censoring anything they don't like. And if your channel is not monetized, which many that I know, just like mine, never has been, never would be, but all of those not monetized will be immediately deleted for the most part. That's what I've come to understand. And I know some of the larger channels like Parable of the Vineyard, he was talking about moving to BitChute. You know, some have created websites to do live streams and etc. I'm praying about what Abba wants me to do, but it's going to be a sad day when we can't fellowship any longer on YouTube. And Abba said this one thing to me. He said, with that, with its end, he will raise up the house church. And that excited me because my history, way back in the 90s, before internet ruled the world, I went to a church, and church was so far away. It was like an hour and a half away from where I lived, but we still went. And when we couldn't go all the time, Abba led me to start a house church in my neighborhood. And it was the most amazing, beautiful thing. And it was just us in the living room playing worship music on a CD player, if you can remember that. And literally gathering in a circle in a living room, worshiping and praising him, and then reading the word together and discussing it. And we did that for, I don't even know how long we did that. My ex-husband, this was a long time ago, but we did that for a period. Like nobody planted it. Nobody had a pastor. It wasn't like that. It was just like the neighbors coming over, and we had some snacks, and we fellowshipped and read the word and worshiped Abba. And it was beautiful. And he brought those memories back to me. And he said, with YouTube going in the direction it's going, it's time to raise up my house church. And that's what he's going to do. I don't know exactly when it's going to start or what, but that brought so much joy and excitement to me. So be praying about that, because maybe you live somewhere and you don't know your neighbor. You don't know the people next to you. Maybe it's time you did. And maybe you should invite them over for a little bit of dinner or a little bit of a snack or a little bit of a talk, which will lead to their maybe salvation if they weren't already, which then would lead to a small fellowship beginning, right? That's all it is. It's loving Yah and loving our neighbor. That's how you start a house church. And so it's exciting. It's, we've got to have boldness and courage to go do it, but it's still exciting nevertheless, because I have longed for that fellowship. I love you all. I love being able to come on here and see you. I miss that I haven't done it so much, but honestly, Abba hasn't called me to do it so much. Like that would be forcing it, and I don't want to force anything in my own will or power. It's not right. But it's just exciting to think about, And so, yeah, I don't want to miss YouTube either, but pray about that, because maybe he's got a mission for you to serve where you're at with a house church. Even if it's 3 or 4 people, that's still a group of his chosen Natsarim meeting together and loving him. That's all. So on that note, I will leave you. I just wanted to touch base with all that and share what Abba's been showing me, so that I pray it blessed you or encouraged you or gave you hope or whatever. because I love you and I miss you guys and I'm praying for you. Please, I'm always praying for you. I am diligently praying for you because we are going to go into hard times soon. And, I was so faithful. I'm going to tell you this little testimony real quick is I had not stocked up food before we moved here and have the resources to do so. And it was probably about a month and a half ago that I was like, oh, maybe I should just get a few extra canned goods here and there. And I've sort of done that, but I haven't been able to do any mass amounts of anything. And suddenly, this beautiful elderly woman she's really, really sweet. Not a believer, but I get to bear witness to her. And suddenly she just started bringing me canned food every other week. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, I've just got too much here. And that's literally what she does. She just drops it off at my house, she leaves. And it's not for me. This is for the future. This is going in the refuge. And so that's Abba's faithfulness, right? That's his providing. And so that's just beautiful testimony. So if you think you don't have the resources to do, pray about it because he'll make a way where there was no way. All right. I love you. I pray you have a beautiful rest of your Shabbat and enjoy the Shalomin. And I will talk to you guys next time. Feel free to message me on Instagram. I'm not on there a lot, but I do check my messages. And just continue to press into the word, to stand strong, because Abba has a plan and a purpose for each of you in these end days, and you're important. And yeah, I love you. Have a beautiful afternoon. Hallelujah. Say praise Yahuwah and Yahusha. All right. Bye, you guys.